Council meeting dated February 10th, 2020. Agenda moving forward, call to order. Flag salute, Mr. Halo.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Raylo.
Here.
Mr. Amendola.
Here.
Mr. Schrock.
Here.
Mr. Lavasser.
Here.
Mr. Neiman. Ms. Perry.
Here.
Mr. Saba.
Here.
Mayor Bloom.
Here.
Solicitor Corwin.
Here.
Engineer Misterman is not here. I am here, and Public Works Director is also here. We have reports.
Thank you. Moving forward, may I have the approval of the bill list dated February 10th, 2010?
So moved.
Sorry, 2020. I'm reading. Correction on your agendas. 2020. Yeah, we're going back.
Oh.
Time warp again. All right.
That was slow again.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, no, what's the
So moved. Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, all that opposed? Approval of the bill list. Approval of the minutes dated January 27, 2020.
So moved. Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All that opposed? All right. Approval of the minutes, thank you. Citizen comments. At this time, citizens may address the Borough Council on any issue appearing on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Comments on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of tonight's meeting. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a minimum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 10 minutes. Speakers are asked to use the microphone at the speaker stand, clearly state their name and address to the record, and keep comments brief and to the point. Please spell your name for the record. All right. David William, Jack. No, so, Dave, if you don't have anything specific on the agenda here, and you don't, we'll have to hold off to the end of the meeting. Seeing no other citizens on the assignment sheet, we'll move forward. Next item, we have resignations and appointments. On the 5th of February, Mr. Roy A. Neiman Jr. rendered his resignation to the council president and to council as a whole. And I'm going to read his resignation letter. Dear fellow members of council, after reflecting upon my current obligations and my health, I do not have the time required to dedicate to Crafton Borough Council. It is with a heavy heart that I must resign my council seat effective immediately. This resignation is something that I do not do lightly. I would like to thank the residents and voters of Crafton for your support. Although my time on council was short, I am very grateful for the opportunity. I expect great things from the remaining members of council, and I am confident that council will reinvest in the borough's infrastructure. Roy A. Neiman Jr. And
I'm so moved. Second.
all right. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, why are we just hearing about this now for the first time? This is the 10th of February. You said that letter was written on the 5th, it's 5 days ago. Is there a copy of it in here? I can't seem to find a copy.
So,
So it took 5 days for us
it
to
was
hear about
provided
it?
to myself.
It was written to you and us.
Correct. And
Okay.
he actually,
It was not delivered until today to the borough president.
right.
Well, if you'd have said that, I wouldn't ask the question.
Yeah, so,
So you backdated it to February 5th and you got it today. And you're as surprised as we are.
no, I'm not surprised.
No.
Mr. Neiman held on to it, and, you know, he debated greatly back and forth his resignation. He deliberated back and forth. Actually, he even thought about revoking this letter. I mean, I'm being very honest with you. He has struggled. He didn't sign up to be badgered. He didn't sign up to do anything but serve us as the community. And he regrets having the to resign. However, he has to consider his overall welfare and mental well-being. And for that, I can say, I just wish him very well in the future. I don't think it's something to be taken lightly. This person put himself out there to the community and really.
I call the vote.
Go ahead.
You don't have the floor.
So, I'll just put it that way. So, at any rate, anybody?
I second Ms. Perry, let's call the vote.
All right. So, roll call vote?
Mr. Ayla,
Yes.
Mr. Amendola,
Yes.
Mr. Cross,
I accept the motion, yes.
Mr. Lapson,
Yes.
Ms. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Sapp,
Yes.
6-0, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Neiman, for all your efforts, and we wish you well in the future, and we look forward to hearing good news from you. So, thank you. Moving forward, we have a motion to adopt resolution number 2020-01, appointing Michael J. Crown to the vacancy created by Roy A. Neiman Jr., term expiring December 31st, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Yes, you have the floor.
I'm not sure where to start. Did we not have a conversation, you and I, 3 days ago about this?
Yes.
And I voiced my opinion that the next highest vote getter should be the one that would be appointed. You told me there would be no votes for that, and I asked you, point blank, what were we gonna do? And you told me 3 days ago that we were going to do it like the last time, that we were going to solicit for letters of interest and here in front of the community, those people who are interested. What has happened in the last 3 days? If not a clear smack in the face and a clear drawing back the bridges that we have been trying to build over the last 6 or 8 weeks.
I'd like to
What
answer
is going
that.
on?
Mr. Chair, if I could address the chair. So, I have been behind the scenes with Mr. Lavasser, and I'll wear this one if you'd like me to do it in the community. We had an election in November, and it's a real one, and I'm sorry that some folks in the community were not as invested as some of us would have liked them to be. But this isn't 7th grade Model United Nations. We have an obligation. There's a real election, and Mr. Neiman won. Full stop. So there is not the appetite at this time to draw out what is unnecessary. There's the will to move forward with an appointment tonight, and we have a perfectly vetted and well-qualified candidate that will be able to step in, take the reins, and move the community forward. So we have that person here tonight, and I would submit to this body that we should move forward with this nomination and appoint this person, Mike Crown, to the seat vacated by Mr. Neiman Jr. There are other candidates to support. Mr. Bloom, Mr. Ryan, and Ms. Palchowski ran, and the election happened, and we have to move forward. And I will submit that is.
So this is not my point. Can I have the floor, please?
Yeah,
My point,
can I
my
address
point.
I'm gonna address it, okay? Because I hear you loud and clear. All right, as you said, I threw out a name. I didn't have support.
No. You threw out a process.
A process and a name
You
of
told me
which.
that we were
right,
gonna have a
and we
process.
don't have-
Order.
Point of order.
Excuse me.
Councilwoman Cleta,
I have been lied to by
No,
the
nobody's
president of
lying,
this
nobody's
council.
lying, nobody's lying. So with that being said, we didn't have the support to move council in that direction, all right? We didn't have the support.
When we didn't have that discussion out
We-
in
but-
front of the community
didn't-
that we didn't
we're
have that
having- we're
support.
having
What
this-
happened to transparency? Transparency, that's what you guys ran on, and that's what you guys have been talking about. You can,
Okay, I now have the floor. So with respect to transparency, in, what was it, June, July, I believe that's when council filled the vacancy created by then Councilman Abby Rosario. At that time, myself, former Councilman Valchef, Mr. Neiman, Anthony Saba, and Dave Bloom all put in letters of interest for that. And as we put time, effort, poured our hearts and our souls into those letters of interest, into those speeches that we made, into being grilled by members of council with questions, we found out after the fact that council had already made up its mind prior to receiving the letters of interest, prior to hearing our speeches. So as somebody that was in that position, as somebody that felt like I wasted my time, felt like I was disrespected, I'm not going to sit here and insult the intelligence of our community and waste the time of those that are interested and discourage those that may want to run in 2 years for this 2-year vacancy, or whenever my seat's up for a 4-year. So that is why I did not want to insult the intelligence of our community by, I already had in mind somebody that I thought would be a great candidate that has stellar qualifications for this position, and that's why I went where I went.
It was Brad that threw you under the bus on that last letter of interest. That was Brad that got everybody together.
Mr. Saba, you.
That's what happened there. Your guy, Brad.
Mr. President, can you please, for full transparency for the community, can you please explain, according to Borough Code, what the process is when a vacancy opens up on council?
So when we have a vacancy, it becomes a political appointment. Under Borough Code, all that we have to do is, move forward a resolution such as this, and the person has until the next election to sit. So it purely is a political appointment, and we have in the past advertised, but there isn't a will of council at this point to put everybody through
That's not true.
So there, you don't.
I think it should be advertised.
So
You're just blowing smoke.
Let's have a motion to advertise and see if we have a will to advertise, and then let's move on.
no, you don't have to do that. This is my
Yes,
opinion.
we do.
Hold on.
listen,
This is
Transparency.
This is being
You're gonna
transparent.
cheat all these
This is
people in
this
this
is being
audience.
transparent. What's
You're
transparent?
not being
I'm
transparent.
being.
You're not being
I'm going to finish my sentence.
Okay, go ahead. I'll be.
All right. I agree with Mr. Alo in that if council already knows who they want, a majority of council already knows who they want, all right, then
Are you people paying attention to this? Here
Yeah,
we
we're-
say
We
here.
are,
Right.
we want to
So-
allow only one person to speak at a time.
so with that being said, all right, I personally didn't enjoy the last process. All right, if everybody knows, there's a majority of council, like 3+ people, that know where they want to go.
So you've talked to people about it behind closed doors.
All these individuals communicate, right? I can't tell them what to do. I don't tell them what to do. They tell me what they want to do,
Yeah.
right?
so we're
So
just
I-
acknowledging, we are just acknowledging
Right.
that there has been activity behind,
Yes.
outside of
Correct.
this
There's a political
meeting,
process.
I
between the
would
last
submit to this
meeting
body.
and this one, and
Yes.
that
That
we
when
were
you-
not appraised.
Hold-
When you want to
please
be
don't talk.
president, you pull
What?
the same shtick. And if you have 4
Whoa,
votes.
whoa, whoa, you can't use
All right.
obscenities here. What's the matter with you?
Shtick.
All right?
Do I need to spell it?
Yeah, go ahead, and spell it. Go
Let's-
ahead.
let's-
This needs to be addressed. You know, we have it in our council rules and regulations. You can't use obscenities at a council meeting.
So
What are you gonna do about it, Mr. President?
So,
Mr. President.
Mr. President.
You're not my president.
Order,
I know, I'm
Mr.
not.
President.
Thank you.
I have some comments to make about this too.
So, yes, Mr.
I move to vote.
All right.
Let's hear Fred out.
I want to make some
No, let's
comments.
move the vote. All right,
I want to make some comments.
somebody second? All right. Go ahead, Mr. Amendola, you have the floor.
I've been listening to you guys since November saying the people have spoken. Now, I'm gonna vote, if it comes to a vote, I am gonna vote for Mike Crown. He's a good guy, he's honest, he's got integrity, he's smart. I am gonna vote yes for him. However, I've been listening to you guys saying the people spoke in November, and they did speak in November. So for that reason, I think this council should appoint the guy that came in 36 votes behind Roy, and that's Dave Bloom. He should be appointed here tonight. He couldn't be, because the people spoke. And I've been listening to you guys telling me that the people spoke since November.
Got it.
So Dave Bloom is the guy that should be appointed here tonight, without any, now, also, letters of interest. You're doing the borough a great injustice by sitting there and making decisions with these other people without giving people in the borough an opportunity to send a letter in and say, yeah, I would like to consider being a council person. And you know what? This about you had such a bad time when you had to come in for a little interview thing. I mean, come on. You guys had that all figured out before the meeting. You know, Brad talked to Eric on the phone and got it all the way through. So those are my comments. Dave Bloom was the next in line for that council seat, and now Roy is gone, so he should be appointed. And there should be letters of interest sent out, because you're doing a
Thank you.
distrust to this community.
Thank you for your opinion. Thank
Yeah.
you. And what's provided us under Borough Code is just this is a
You
political
can, in
process.
other words, you can do whatever you
No, this is
want.
a political process, and therefore there are
Same old
elections.
BS.
Right, and you run your political process on the back end just as well as everybody else, Fred. We get it.
Hey, I supported candidates.
Okay, great. I know
Just
you
like
did.
you
So this is
ran
a
Roy's-
political process,
You
and the
ran Roy's
candidates.
campaign.
And excuse me, the candidates that you did not support are up here, and you're angry about that. We get it.
I'm not angry, I'm gonna get along, I'm gonna get along.
Okay, but you don't like.
But he's gone now, and the next guy in line.
But you don't
Brad,
like
let me
the
quote
process.
you.
Mr.
Let
President.
me quote you a few
Mr.
months ago. I still have the floor here. Brad, let me quote you a few months ago. When Abby's vacancy came up, you sat there and suggested that the next guy in line, who is Anthony Saba, you suggested that he should be appointed. Isn't that right? Because he was next on the list for votes.
You know what, as someone who despises me as much as you do, I'm confused as to why you would pay me any attention in this matter, quite frankly. If you dislike us so much, then why do you care what I think about us?
No, I'm asking you a
All right,
question.
all right.
Didn't you
Mr.
say that?
Mr.
Didn't
Saba,
you say
you
that
have
you
the floor.
thought the next guy on
Mr.
the
Saba,
list
you have
should
the
be
floor.
the councilman that is
No more
appointed?
crossfire.
You said
Direct
that.
the chair.
You want me to
Not
pull
playing this way.
the video for you?
Okay.
All right, I'll
Mr.
pull the
Saba.
video.
Mr. President, so in regards to other council members having conversations, every council member is fully accessible to every resident, every member of resident, every business owner within Crafton. We are fully accessible to every council member. I implore every person sitting in this room and every single person sitting on this side of the table, full communication. We are not hiding behind some castle up in the hill. We want to hear what people want. Our emails are all published, our phone numbers are out there. We want to know, this is what full transparency is. At no time did we receive any phone calls, and this is,
You know what, because it's a waste of time, that's why. You guys got your minds made up, and it's a waste of time
and
to try to
Mr.
call
President,
you.
this is what a majority
Yeah.
wants.
Sure.
Cleta.
My single point here is we talk about transparency. You told me something 3 days ago, and you did not bother to pick up the phone and tell me that something else was in the works. And for that, I am deeply offended, and I
I
don't know.
apologize.
I don't know how I can, and as I said, you've burned the bridges that we've been working really hard.
Thank you. Okay, so with that being the conversation. Can we move to a vote?
You have a motion in a second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ayla.
Yes.
Mr. Mendoza.
Yes.
Mr. Kraus.
Yes.
Mr. Lauer.
Yes.
Ms. Perry.
No.
Mr. Savage.
Yes.
5 to 1 in favor of the motion.
Congratulations, Mike.
All right, would the magistrate and the appointee, Michael J. Crown, please move forward? The magistrate is going to swear you in. You have your affidavit of residency. Please submit.
Somebody getting pictures?
Why?
I'm in the wrong position here.
I'm sorry, where do you want?
Where do you want? Oh, what's one? Yeah, do that. I'll take pictures. Sure.
Sure. All right. If you raise your right hand. I, Michael Crown,
I, Michael Crown,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge
and that I will discharge
my duties
my duties
as a member of Crafton Borough Council
as a member of Crafton Borough Council
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Sign this real quick, and then I'll sign it and notarize it.
All right. All right.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Judge.
Was it, Russ, a couple weeks ago, the developers that have been working with the school district met with us on a Friday with the engineer.
That is correct.
All right. Ms. Perry asked for an update. So just wanted to make everybody aware that the developer that's been working with the school district reached out to us multiple times. I've been bereaved. My father passed on, and I wasn't able to communicate with him until recently. And during the conversation, they asked, what do they have to do to win this community support? And I said, you need to look at the minutes from that meeting. You need to understand what this community needs, and don't come back to us until you have worked to resolve those and come up with a plan that this community can support. So with that, they are going to try to address what the community said, and I reached out to the school board president and said that we had that conversation and that they should be prepared to have that conversation. And they are currently under contract with that developer, so if they want to move forward in the near term, that's the developer that they're under contract with, and it's incumbent upon them and the developer to work with us. So I'm going to continue to update the community here. I think it's pretty important that everybody's comments that were provided at that meeting in December be discussed, and that this council deliberate and try to work through any future development plans with the school district, so we're in accord. So right now, no action, nothing's happening. They haven't come back with a game plan, you know, with any action items. So with that, that's where we are.
May I ask a
Yeah,
question?
go ahead.
When you say that they are under contract with that developer, what exactly do you mean? Because the only thing that was shared with us was the proposed bill of sale or sale contract that included the stipulation that we revert the property. That has not happened. So maybe I should be asking Mr. Corbel, do they then still have a valid contract
They may still have an agreement signed with the,
that they haven't
District.
shared with us?
perhaps, and they still may be waiting for us to make that
And-
offer.
And
In order-
given the community response that clearly said that 50 people that came here did not want a convenience store gas station, how is Armstrong, the developer for Get-Go, going to meet the concerns of the community that came here and stood here and said what they wanted and what they didn't want?
So I believe they're going to, you know, study the film, study the notes, and figure out a plan that could be palatable to us, and that's for us to deliberate. So they need to come back to us, and I said, don't come back until you.
You having secret meetings with the developer? Or the
Not
school
having-
board, or
not-
what?
Not having a secret.
Where are you getting all this information?
No, he just said that they reached out to him.
Right.
It's valid, he's the president. I mean, I've got
Correct.
substantial differences here, but they've
That's
got
a
to
dead issue.
communicate
We
some way.
voted on
It's
that
not.
already.
It's not.
We don't want that field down there.
Okay, so
And
we
you're
had,
snooping around the background.
No.
okay. So at any rate, that's the end of my report. Thank you. Moving on to the mayor's report.
I have nothing for you this evening, thank you.
Actually, there's one thing. We were gonna mention of Mr. Coward. Yeah, is it-
Coach Coward.
Coach Coward?
Yeah.
Well, at any rate, did everybody see the news about our hometown guy, football hall of fame? All right, just want to shout out to Coach Coward. All right.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I thought you were gonna mention that. So at any rate, just want to shout out to his elevation there. All right, moving forward to the engineer's report, and the manager's going to speak on the grant submittals.
Yes, Mr. President, the engineer couldn't be here for tonight's meeting, but I spoke at length with him, and I will attempt to explain the 4 work authorizations that were submitted, because they are both time sensitive, and there is a possibility of a motion in them a little bit further in the meeting. As I said, you have 4 work authorizations submitted by Gateway, with 3 projects to be submitted for funding consideration under round 5 of the Grow Grant Program via Alcoasand. And that is the latest and greatest of their grant, of this grant submitted. These 3 all require a letter of interest to be submitted to Alcoasand by the end of this month. If you do not supply the letter of interest, you are not eligible to proceed anywhere and any time forward under this grant cycle. 2 of these require that 60% of the design development be completed upon submission in June, and 1 of these projects demand that 90% of the design development plans be submitted at the June deadline. And the basic reason between the 60 and the 90 is that the 60% programs are usually under $1 million, where the one that requires 90% is a $3 million plus project, and it is a combination of 2 other separation projects that were on the board. The 4th submission is a far too complicated issue to get an LOI in on February and a design in by June. It is the goal on this particular project to get Port Authority involved to separate all the water coming off the impervious surfaces of the busway that go into our combined sewers, and identify those sewers, figure out a way to get them separated, work with Pat, and possibly down the road to submit a joint application for a large separation project. it will not happen this year, but some of the things have to be done now if we're going to submit in 2021. Because there is more than a good chance that Elkington is going to continue this program with the monies that they have allocated, which was $10 million a couple years ago, 2 years ago. Again, I am not the engineer. I just wanted to give you the best possible explanation as to why these signals are here and the fact that it is time sensitive, and that the end of February is one deadline and I think June the 20th is the real deadline to get it in for them to even consider funding for these projects.
Just a quick question, was this the same thing that they discussed in the last council meeting?
I'm sorry?
Was this the same item that they were discussing in the last meeting?
Some of these projects were, yes. And actually, Rick did give an update on the Port Authority meeting at that time, yes.
Thank you.
May I ask, have we got any idea about the cost of the design work that we would have to be doing? And do we have any thoughts about whether we're going to be able to fund those costs?
In the work authorizations, which were posted in the packets, the one is for not to exceed 20 grand, that's the Emerson Avenue project. The other one is not to exceed 22,000 for the preliminary work and submittal on the Perrine Street Road project. The last one, the very large one, is the Woodlawn Avenue and Fountain Street. There were two separate projects, but they are now combined because of the way these sewers are lined up. That is fees not to exceed 100,000 to get all these submissions in. And the last one, which is the preliminary work on the Port Authority project, which will not have design work done and will not have an LOI in this round, is fees not to exceed $70,000.
So all told, we're talking about more than $200,000 in design that has to be executed this year. How does that fit in our budget?
I would say that you do not have to, the Broadhead Avenue busway project is one that could be, there's not a deadline on that at this point in time.
So that takes it down to?
Well, it takes it down to 100 and a possibility of $142,000.
Okay.
We do have outstanding grants out there that are hopefully covering most of the costs for the ones that have been approved. But is there money in the sewer fund to address these? I think there is, yes. Conversely, if we don't do it, there'll be no grant money for any of these projects. So without the grant money, we don't have that kind of money in the general fund to cover any of these projects.
And
It's a catch-22.
the letter of interest motion that we have on for tonight,
Yep.
we don't have to have the other items in line, and we don't have the authorization to do those on this meeting agenda, please.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused.
Okay, so the design work, okay, so we're saying we have a motion to approve the work authorization submitted by, by Gateway to allow for Grow Grant submittals?
Yes, and design work.
Okay, so basically that motion is authorizing them to do the design work, not just to submit the letter of interest.
No, in fact,
So is there a reason why we have that lumped into one as opposed to having a motion to have them submit the letters of interest?
well, the only reason, honestly, that I put it into one is because the work order authorization and the work scope of work involved in it is all delineated in the project status reports that were also part of the packet.
Right.
So one goes with each.
So what you're saying is we need to decide tonight whether we're gonna allow them to submit the letters of interest, and that by doing so, that we're gonna authorize $140,000 in design work. Is that what we're saying here?
Yes,
Okay,
yes we are.
thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
So I know we have about 140,000 design work, but do we have a rough estimate in the amount of grant money that we're talking about from Alcatan in return?
Yeah, so with these, they're gonna be between the 70 and 85% funding. So our investment of, let's say, total out of the sewer fund, probably run around $600,000 to get all this work done. That's a rough estimate. With design work, we're talking, $3 to $4 million worth of work.
And this is something that's mandated, correct, by the EPA, that we have to do this, so.
We're
if we
waiting our
don't- If we
consent.
don't take advantage of the grant money, Crafton can be out a significant amount more than what we're putting out.
Right, so we're gonna be required to sign a consent order, let everybody know that even under the Trump administration, which is known for being very lax, they're not letting the city of Pittsburgh and Alcatan off the hook with regards to this sewer overflows that we've been experiencing. And these are your sewer fee dollars that we're going after. Part of your sewer fee goes to the Borough of Crafton for its maintenance and operation. Other half, percentage goes to Alcatan, all right? Your rates are gonna continue going up for the next 5 years. And all what we're trying to do is recoup some of your money and bring it into your community. That's what we're doing, and to make the investments in this community. So in order for you to get the funds that we need to do these projects, you have to do the design work. And now that the threshold went from $2 million to $10 million, and that being order of 5 magnitude there, you're talking about we're sitting right next to the city of Pittsburgh, who literally has buses falling into holes over there. So the time is of the essence that we get our projects in before those funds dry up, and we're not the only community with the city of Pittsburgh competing for the money. So what's the urgency? The urgency is the funds aren't gonna last forever, because they had $85 million, and now that the cap's been lifted, the engineer said, you have to get your projects in before those funds are no longer available, and you're on your own to fund them. So it's either pay a little upfront right now, or pay a whole lot more down the road in 5 years. And as a leader of the community, I would rather get ahead of it, sign the consent order, get our boxes checked, minimize the amount of raw sewage entering our streams, and do the right thing. So that's my piece on that subject. Yep.
Another question, has there been discussion or plan how to cover the other $500,000 that will come due if we get these grants?
So that's a great question. So at the Allegheny County Boroughs Association banquet, Jeannie Clark came up to me and said she wants to work with us.
Let people know who Jeannie Clark
So
is.
Jeannie Clark is the communication director for Alcatan. Alcatan wants to work with Crafton. Why? Because we have 3 to 4 overflows that are putting them way out of compliance. So what are they willing to do? Obviously, they're willing to give us, the grant money, our fees, back to us so we can make the investments here. And they're willing to work with us to make loan application to the USDA, low interest loans, to cover the portion that we aren't going to take out of our capital program. So yes, the Borough of Crafton is going to have to probably borrow some money to pay the balance, so we can, basically we're going to need a bridge loan. So we don't get the money until the work's been completed. So what are we going to have to do? Do we have $3 million sitting around in the sewer fund? We have between $1 and $2 million given on time. If you look at the agendas over time, you can see here moving forward. We have a project over on North Emily, which is wholly out of our pocket, $307,000. It's not cheap to run a sewer system. And with that being said, there's, as we heard at our meeting in November.
The bridge loan is different. The bridge loan is designed to hold us over while we pay.
Correct.
While we're anticipating our grant money.
Right.
I asked about the additional $500,000, and you mentioned, is that going to be covered by low interest loans from the government that will be able to pay over
The money,
time.
the money that we're
Not the
putting,
bridge loan part, but the part that's gonna be our responsibility, the $500 or so thousand dollars
So-
for this project.
so are you talking about
How
the
are we gonna
engineering?
finance it?
Hold on,
No.
go ahead.
I think I understand your question. I consider a bridge loan like a tax anticipation note,
Exactly.
which is something this borough doesn't have to do, when many other municipalities do.
Right,
Right.
but for this, I
Right.
understand, and I've talked
And
about
I
it
hear you.
before.
Do
I
you,
get that, and that's
Yeah,
a whole
right,
different thing.
right.
That's short term.
right. In my opinion, will general fund monies cover these costs?
600, yeah,
I would say no.
okay.
I think you're looking at a general allocation bond at some point down the road to cover some of these expenses.
So do you have any idea at this point of what order of magnitude we would be talking about and what that's going to mean and when that's going to happen?
Actually, I won't know until I get a better handle from the submissions and from the design applications and the construction costs from Gateway.
Right.
It is a catch-22.
Right, no, I get it. So, but we're talking about, this is obviously gonna pass tonight, regardless of how many yes or no's, we have at least a minimum. So, we will be taking the design, costs out of our sewer fund now, over
Yes.
the course of this next year.
Yes.
And you said we can do that. We, let's say, best case scenario, we get all of these granted, and we have to do bridge loans, short term, I get that, no problem. And when the grant money comes in, we get to pay the loans back and we'll have paid very little interest.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, what you're saying is we may have an additional $500,000 that 15% that will be out of our pocket.
Yeah, and for the record,
It could go more than that. We
Correct.
understand
Correct.
that.
I'd be remiss if I gave you a number.
Exactly, I get that. So at minimum, we're talking an additional 400, could be $1 million.
it could be 2 million. And how is that gonna be paid? It's not
That's
by
what I'm
raising,
asking.
right, so how is it gonna be paid? Thank you for the setup, because that, what I mean by setup is explanation, the opportunity to explain how is this gonna be paid for. You pay your sewer fees, all right, and you pay a lot of it. I mean, if you look at your water bill and your sewer bill's higher than your water bill, and it's been escalating, and that's not because the borough of Crafton keeps on raising the rates. That's Alcoasand, all right, we haven't raised the rates many years. But we're going to use your dollars, instead of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on an annual basis for spot repairs, we're actually going to be fixing the system. We're going to be overhauling the system. We're not just going to be doing pipelining at the tune of $500,000 to $800,000 a year. Go look at the record. It speaks for itself. We're going to be fixing the system for the next 50 to 100 years. These are long-term investments. And so, yeah, we may need to borrow a couple $1 million for 10 years, 20 years, whatever the financial advisors advise to this body and whatever this body deliberates, we're gonna have to make some very big decisions about how we're going to use your sewer fund. It's not about, dragging, our tax rate higher. We're going to try to make this budget neutral when it comes to your road fund and your sewer fund, because there's also a road component, restoration. We have a lot of questions about how are we going to restore the streets? What does that mean? All right, if you notice, a lot of our roadways are, they're rough. Fred's used a host of analogies of what they're like in the past. They're rough, and this is the opportunity to make overall improvements. So what does that mean? Part of our road program in the future may go towards actually paying down the debt on this general obligation or the USDA loan. Whatever mechanism it is that we use to pay for these investments, we have a lot of the revenue right in front of us. It's all about how we're going to allocate that in the future. Are we going to do Band-Aid repairs, which is what we've been doing, or are we going to make long-term repairs? So that's as simple as I can put it this time.
Are you saying that, and I understand that we're way early in
Correct.
the game, and nobody's making any promises,
Right.
but the goal will be whatever financing that we have to do,
Mhm.
that the repayment, the debt service,
Right,
will come out of revenue with as little to no increase in taxes
yes.
and fees. Is
Correct.
that what we're saying now?
That's what we're
I
saying right now.
understand there's no guarantee, but we need to put that on the table.
Yes,
Otherwise, we're going to have the kind of blowback where people are worried about how much more their taxes are going to go
Correct.
up.
yes, yes, Mr. Salo.
So, Mr. President, from my understanding with this whole sewer project is we essentially have two options. Because at the end of the day, the EPA, as well as the Department of Environmental Protection from the state, they're gonna come down and say, they're saying this to every single municipality. And I know, for full transparency and explain, so we're actually interacting with a lot of other municipalities through different courses as newly elected officials. This is actually a major issue for a lot of municipalities. And the biggest question and their biggest fear right now is they're so far behind the game, they're probably not gonna get any grant money, and they just don't know how they're gonna fund a full project. So what we're talking about here is we have two options. We have one option to get money in forms of grants and put a partial payment in, or we have to pay it all, and it's gonna be a significant amount. So I would say if we have to go the route where it's a significant amount, that there's no way that we're gonna have that money in the general fund without raising taxes or without taking a loan. So the option of taking advantage of the money while it's out there, it frees up our budget to be able to utilize it for other things in the community and other areas that we can address. So this allows us to take a multi-approach to the borough as a whole versus where other municipalities are, all they're talking about is their sewers, and that's all they're going to be talking about for the next decade.
Any other comments, Mr. Halo?
I'll just address like the importance of this, trying to just hammer it home, because at the end of the day, what we as Borough Council want to do is to try to do what we can from our position to kind of help put money back in your pockets. I mean, we want to put, you all want more money in your pockets, right? So one of the things that we'll be able to do is as we complete this project, the overflow, please, Mr. President, correct me if I'm wrong, but as we reduce that overflow, the rates that we're being charged for the amount of water that's going down to Alphasan for treatment, those will start to decrease and we'll see lower bills.
Well, to be realistic, I mean, that would be pie in the sky idea that Alphasan actually does that.
Well,
So the thing is that part of the equation that we control, because I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I think Alphasan's gonna lower rates. I personally don't foresee that. What I foresee is the Borough of Crafton being able to, in the next decade, to start, adjusting its rates or not having to adjust its rates for inflation, because we haven't been doing that, and that's where we've sort of fallen behind. And so with that is, if we can stay the same or back it off a bit with our sewer fees on what we're doing, it will make up for the difference where, if you look at the escalation in what Alcosan's doing, your bills are gonna go up. I hope you read the flyer. They're going up, guys. So let's get your money in your community. I cannot stress that enough, and the fact that your community won't be, contributing to the overflows directly, I think is a wonderful thing. We should applaud ourselves when we get across the finish line, and if we comply early, we will have done ourselves a huge service. And we don't know what's going to happen 10 years from now, other than, Alcosan has to consider additional retention and treatment options. This is just really trying to force all the customer communities to do their fair share in their mind to reduce the total number of gallons that have to be treated during peak time. So with that, it's an opportunity to make the investment in your community. Hopefully, everybody that's moving into the community will see their home values remain constant or go up, and then anybody that's going to be leaving the community in the next decade will get a fair price or better than they want for their property. And I want to make it very, very clear. If you're a senior citizen, this is not meaning that we're trying to raise your taxes. I've heard that over and over again, and I want to let you all know, I personally feel for everybody that's in the senior citizen population, because we have the largest aging in place population, all right, in this county, in Pennsylvania in general, and we don't want you to be forced out of your homes because you can't afford the taxes, all right? We can't control what's going on with the school district, all right? Make it very clear. They're raising their taxes. They have an issue, but we don't control that part. We control what's going on with your streets and with your sewers and with the services that you receive from the Borough of Crafton. So when we talk about new people moving in, that means actually treating you with the respect that you deserve because you've lived here your entire life and taken care of this community. All right? You've sweated day in and day out to provide a home for you and your families. All right? And you want your home to be worth something. I know you do. So we need to do our part on our side to ensure that your community is a desirable place that people want to move to and raise a family or have a business or do any number of things. Or just reside. You don't have to have a family. Come to Crafton. You just want to buy a house and live in a great community. All right, but we have to do our end. All right, we have a fiduciary responsibility to make these investments. For those of you who don't think this community's made investments, they have. I have the bonds. They're in containers down there, paid off bonds. People have made investments here. All right, 1950 was a bond issuance. All right, we haven't made those types of investments for a very long time. Before we had this meeting, we had a meeting with the school board, and we talked about, I mentioned, times of economic hardship that this county in western Pennsylvania has gone through. We need to have hope for the future. All right, there is hope. We have the county executive of Allegheny County coming across, the ballroom, coming up to your council president and saying, hey, we want to make investments in your community. We want to work with Crafton. There are businesses, there are people that want to come to Allegheny County, and Crafton, they've noticed, has been, or the west side of the city has been overlooked. It's on busway. How do they help? How does the county executive help us? Well, he started the conversation last Saturday, right? We had Mr. Alo, Perry, Mr. Saba there. It was exciting to have the county executive take notice of Crafton and want to work with us because there is a lot of hope. So have hope in what we're going to do for your community, and that is make the investments. I've been here for 4 years now, and I'm raising my family here. I have a 6-month-old, I have a 3-year-old, I've invested heavily in my home. I've done things that people call me stupid for, like putting a new roof on my house, all right? And with that being said, we want you to have the confidence to make the investments in your community, but we have to do our side of it, and that requires planning and thinking about all the options and working with the regulators that we have to deal with and working with our constituents. And that's the pathway that we have to take, and we're going to have to make some hard decisions. There's a lot of conversation in Mount Lebanon right now about the brick streets. All right, make it very clear. We're going to have to make decisions about what kind of investments we're going to have to put into your roadways, and we're going to need to hear from you on that subject. So I've been long-winded so far. I'm going to cut it out right now, but I hope that we have more discussion in the future, and that you come out to some of the hearings that we'll hopefully have about some of these specific projects, so we can work with you and the Planning Commission to put your hallmark on the community. That's what we really want, because people have said to me, Phil, you're way too excited about putting pipes under the street, and you're not showing the public what they're getting for their money. All right, this is your opportunity to come to Planning Commission meetings and work with your planning commissioners and talk about what the vision is. That's where you all need to go, and you need to come to council. I invite you to go to the planning commission meetings, and I invite you to come back here and tell us what your vision is. We have had multiple documents over the past few years. We have the comp plan that set out some of the vision, but now it's coming down to how we're gonna design it. What's it gonna look like? How much do we want to pay for? Do we want the brick? Do we want concrete? Do we want asphalt? What do we want to do once these pipes are in the ground? Because this council's going to put pipes in the ground. So now it's your turn to tell us, hey, what other improvements do you want while your neighborhood's being is under construction? So thank you very much. This is your report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll keep it brief. We had an executive session prior to the meeting for personnel matters and discuss matters related to borough property. End of report. End of report.
Okay, good, great. All right, moving forward, manager's report.
Other than what I just stated on behalf of the engineer, who I hopefully never takes another vacation as long as he's alive, I have actually nothing more to add, other than maybe just some agenda items a little bit later.
Thank you. All right. Business agenda. Motion to award Johnson and North Emily sewer repair base bid without the deduct bid to Jet Jack Incorporated in an amount of $307,855 per the recommendation from Gateway Engineering.
So moved.
Second.
Can I ask, without the deduct bid, I'm sorry, I evidently didn't read that closely enough and don't understand.
There was if they would have done the project a different way, there was a deduct amount they could have taken.
Let's say,
The option, I think, was with pipe bursting.
The pipe bursting.
okay.
And
So
they opted not to do the pipe bursting. We only had one bid on the project.
Okay.
Like I said, yeah,
Thank you.
that was it. Thank you.
I'd like
I'm
to-
sorry, Mr. Kraus and Mr. Emmendall. Okay, thank you.
All right. Mayor, thank you for all your help on working on getting this across the finish line with the residents.
We're gonna get her done this summer now.
He's gonna start ASAP, Mayor, if we pass the motion, and we will have a meeting with all the residents with the contractor before we start.
Okay.
And my last question is, this is all in the budget.
Yes, this is all on the budget.
Yes, ma'am.
It's coming out of your sewer fees.
Oh, motion, please.
Roll call?
You want a roll call? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Ayla?
Yes.
Mr. Emmendall?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Mr. Lavasser?
Yes.
Ms. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Carrera?
Yes.
Mr. Sapp?
Yes.
7-0 vote, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Motion to advertise the advertisement of the joint Crafton Ingram Planning Commission meeting on February 25th, 2020 to discuss a zoning ordinance rewrite.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sabo.
Now, from my understanding, so this we be working with Ingram. As you know, that we had the comprehensive plan that we created, that was created years ago with multiple different factors the community had input in it. So this goes along with that comprehensive plan, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, it's not intended to be a joint comprehensive plan between the Borough of Ingram and the Borough of Crafton. What the prime idea behind this is an overlay district, mainly geared around the Crafton Ingram shopping center.
Thank you.
And
So, okay, then maybe, excuse me. So this meeting is specifically to talk about the area where.
Commonality.
Right, so this is not about meeting to discuss entering an overall joint zoning update in a precursor to applying for the grant that you've been talking about?
right, so they're gonna come, the planning commissions are gonna come back to us, give their recommendations. I don't know if they wanna give a presentation, and then for us to, if we motion or come into some type of intergovernmental cooperation agreement to go into a joint application for separate zonings, but with the idea of having this
So
overlay
this is for an
district.
overall zoning update, or just for that?
No,
one
no, for
piece?
to move forward the work that you put forth last year.
But with the,
Idea of moving
Wait.
forward with DCD, providing both communities a
With the
50%
okay,
match.
so it's more than a spot thing,
Correct.
okay.
But in order for us to do that, it's DCD would like us to put in the joint application. So we can, so we're not paying
this is-
full thing out of pocket.
This, in order to do this joint meeting, we have to advertise.
That's correct.
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
Yep.
and that's a precursor to what might come next.
yeah.
And
Yeah, Mr. Sala.
I mean, I do think it does make sense that we do work with our neighbors in Ingram, especially because we do share a significant asset to the community, the shopping plaza as well as other areas. I feel like this would be a huge benefit because when you have two municipalities coming together, working together, it draws more attention from other agencies and could help us as well versus us doing everything alone.
I'd like the chair to move to vote on motion, please.
I have a question.
Yes.
You know, this says an advertisement of the joint Crafton Ingram Planning Commission. There is no joint Crafton Ingram Planning Commission, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's
joint
a,
meeting.
it's a,
Joint meeting.
it's a joint,
Of the crowd.
It is not a Crafton Ingram joint, okay,
Correct.
that's my first question.
Joint, good call.
My second question is the zoning ordinance rewrite. We had presentations in here, and we had a recommendation from our planning commission, and we didn't act on it. So why is that? Why are we now bringing Ingram into the equation and getting their input? We've worked with Ingram in the past, and some of it hasn't worked out so well. But I'm asking here, why did our planning commission make a recommendation to us and we didn't act on it? Why is that? No answer.
Because we didn't take a vote, or did we take a vote?
No, we didn't take any
All right,
vote.
so,
We couldn't agree on who we
all
wanted.
right, so now, so
We had a recommendation from the planning
Okay.
commission, but it was,
There was a push for, excuse me, can I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
fill in some information here? There was a push for applying for a grant.
right,
And it was put on for a later date, and then we had elections and other issues, and it didn't come back around, waiting for new council.
right.
So
So we're
we
moving,
are here today with new council saying that instead of going along with the original recommendation, that we want to explore with Ingram the possibility of doing a joint application for a grant. And that's what the purpose of this is.
yeah,
Yes?
yeah,
Okay.
and in the event, Ms. Perry and Mr. Amendola, if Ingram says flat out, we don't want to work with you, then we're gonna have to have a discussion of going alone the way we work. But if they do wanna work with us, it's a win-win, because we get to design a overlay district with them, and it'd be codified in both zoning ordinances. Again, this is separate, you know, the only real common district that we're gonna share is the Crafton Ingram Shopping Center. So, that's a real push, and there's a financial incentive, and as Ms. Perry put it, the financial incentive for Crafton isn't, you know, we're not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think the quote that we had to do it alone was, what, 50?
In the 50s.
50.
yes.
So the big win is to, you know, create this sense of cooperation formally with Ingram on a very important asset, of which, you know, Port Authority's referenced that in conversation, that asset. Everybody that drives through Crafton professionally, that's looked at the communities, acknowledges the importance of that asset and bringing it to maximizing its vitality in both communities. So that's the overall goal.
So we're talking about an initial meeting, that's all we're
That's-
talking
that's-
about
that's
here. And plenty of opportunity to know what's going on, for the community to
Mhm.
hear, for the
Yeah.
planning commission to come back. So we aren't going to suddenly find out that the athletic field has been zoned in a way that will
Correct.
allow Get-Go to just
Correct.
drive into town.
Yeah.
Or another developer, whether it be Get-Go or Sheets or anything else.
All right, will you please take?
Yep, roll call vote, please.
Yes, Mr. Ayla,
Yes.
Mr. Amador,
Yes.
Mr. Cross,
Yes.
Mr. Lavasser,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Perry,
Yes,
Mr. Saba,
Yes.
Mr. Crown.
Yes.
7-0, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Moving forward, a motion to approve the work authorization submitted by Gateway Engineering to allow for road grant submittals to Alcoasand for 4 separate sewer separation projects.
So moved.
second,
Given that we had so much discussion earlier, move forward with a vote.
I move the chair to ask for unanimous vote, so roll call vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All that opposed? Aye. Moving forward, thank you. The manager provided a supplement, and with these motions, we're going to allow for public comment. So, motion to authorize the manager to advertise for the appropriate positions needing to be filled to operate the swimming pool for the season 2020.
Just a little explanation on this. I had, just did some preliminary work to see if outsourcing management of the pool made any sense. This has been done before. There's other communities that do it. Regrettably, I reached out to 3 different companies and 3 of them totally ignored my request. So management of the pool has to be internally this year. There's no other option. I strongly suspect that these companies are having the same problem everybody else is. They can't find anybody to work. And that's a fact everywhere, as you well know, especially in the $10, $12 an hour range. So they didn't even submit a proposal, they didn't even submit a price or anything else. So we're at the point of, we need to advertise for, to get lifeguards, pool managers, et cetera, et cetera. That's all this is for.
Yeah, Mr. Saba.
So question, so the discussion items that we're discussing here, this is to discuss, to vote on the next
Well,
meeting, correct?
We can do
No,
it
no,
that way.
these are additional items that the manager
I-
wanted for consideration on the business agenda.
Yeah.
Of which we're going
Okay.
to allow for public comment if somebody has a comment.
Yeah, I apologize on the quick turnaround of this, but we are nearing that point in February that I just didn't think we had time for 2 more weeks not to get it out there.
So do we have a motion?
Mr., I was gonna make a point of clarification, do we have a motion on the floor on the second? Make a motion?
I was in the impression you read a motion? is that
Yeah.
correct? I second, so move the motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay,
Thank you.
now discussion,
Well, public comment.
public comment. You'd like to come forward, your name and
This
address,
is in
please?
regards to the.
This is regards to the advertisement?
Oh, no, I had a comment of something else. that was
No, it's- yeah, no.
happening.
This is just for the
Yeah.
other-
Yes, this is just for that item.
Okay,
On how to run.
all right. Sorry for the confusion. Do we have any public comment about the pool? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All that opposed? All right, thank you. Moving forward,
Wait on that to discuss the road program.
you want me to wait for that? In the discussion section?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have other discussion items, but that's a road
Okay,
program issue.
we'll move forward with that down there then. All right, so, discussion item, so swimming pool hiring, the manager explained that already. Vacancies and committee appointments.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing about the swimming pool
Mhm.
discussion section. So if anybody knows anybody that would like to work for the pool this summer or manage it, please, once it's advertised by Manager McKibben, please reach out to the borough with interest, so that way we can get the ball rolling for the next season.
Thank you. Vacancies and committee appointments. So we have a number of those that need to be discussed. And let me pull out the sheet. Does council want to discuss those this evening? Do you want to move it forward to the next discussion?
I move that we move the discussion to the next discussion.
Why is that? This is the discussion meeting, let's talk about it.
I retract my statement.
Okay.
How are we putting it
Just
off?
my only question is, Mr. President, have we received letters of interest for all the vacancies?
Not all the vacancies.
We do have some letters of interest.
What?
Are they,
I've received nothing as far as any vacancies.
no, the openings.
Oh.
Let's go down the list.
Mr. President, with respect to the vacancies, I believe there was a motion with respect to our building appeals board and a ordinance of council last year of whether or not we entered an intergovernmental agreement to designate an organization to provide that service.
Yeah, I'm gonna have the solicitor speak to that.
That was brought up, I'm not sure that we voted on it, but there was a proposal to participate in the Char Valley COG joint
Right, I
UCC board.
thought we did vote, maybe we need to look back.
But there's some kind of agreement that they were supposed to forward to us, and then we would have to adopt
Oh,
ours, which
okay,
we've done
okay.
neither, or we
Okay.
haven't seen an updated agreement. I think that's where it was left.
So that it's with Char West, so we should reach out to Char West then?
All right.
And that would eliminate your requirement to appoint your own board. And the UCC board is one that's very rarely activated, so waiting a couple months would probably not be to work out the ordinance and stuff. You may not need to actually find somebody.
Okay. So, moving forward, just civil service, it's got a full bench. The next people that are up are in July and in May. So there's no action needed there. Crafton Planning Commission, the Planning Commission recommended Jesse Ulibarri. We're reaching out to him. His letter was from a year ago, so we're trying to verify that he has still has interest. Mr. Valchef is still on the zoning, and he cannot serve in both, so he'd have to make a choice if he got appointed to planning commission or if he stayed on zoning. And then Lydia Herring, who's the chairwoman, her term is up in April, and she's been doing a very good job, so I think we'll come to that bridge when we get there, but.
Is she gonna need to send in a letter of interest?
No, she doesn't have to.
Oh, she won't?
Council-
Okay,
council-
well, just
council-
so she
No,
knows if
we can
she has
discuss
to
it.
do
You
anything.
don't have to send in.
Yeah,
If you have a person that's willing, and, but,
I agree with continuing her service,
right.
absolutely. She's a
right, but we
volunteer.
have to, when we get there,
Yes,
we
but
have to, right.
I think it needs to be clear to her
Right, right.
that she's gonna, not have to send a letter of interest in.
And Mr.
It's,
President.
well, it's up to
We don't want any
council.
mistakes.
So with that being said, it's up to council. Do you guys want to, send out letters? Do you guys want proposed names of candidates? They obviously have to be willing participants here, so you can't just appoint people that don't have an interest. So that's why in the past, council has taken letters of interest, and that's why we're going down the names. And we have Colton Chandler, who put his name in. So we have some candidates for the Crafton Planning Commission. The Planning Commission made a recommendation for Jesse Ulibarri, but we have to confirm that he's still interested. And if council decides to go another direction, that's within your purview to do so. So do
So
you have
what we're saying
any
is
action?
there's
one open seat?
one open seat. Planning Commission is reaching out to the oldest letter of interest.
Right.
And We gave it a reasonable amount of time, and then it sounded as though we have some positions that are up this year.
Yeah, we have,
And
yeah.
so instead of waiting till the last minute, could we actually adopt a policy to reach out and
Yeah.
find out
I think that's a great
intentions?
idea.
So that we know whether we're going to have openings?
I agree. Is that something the office could help us with?
I think that's something the office is easily help you with. We'll take all the candidates that are close to being on the edge of their appointment, service, whatever you want to call it, and we will write letters asking if they have an interest still, and if so, please contact us at whatever, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
And Mr. President, I think we should just make it clear that if anybody's interested in being reappointed, that they should reach out to the borough via letter, or if they're already appointed, via email, just so that way they don't get lost in the shuffle, that we know for sure that they're interested in being reappointed, and that all council knows.
If it's okay with council, I'd rather go to everyone that's there, find that out first, then you'll know what vacancies you have, and then we could do an ad maybe on the website or anywhere else, asking people if they have an interest, please contact.
Because that way it also gives the opportunity for other folks that might, let's say we might have two people that would want to, for one seat, that we also can consider other folks for those seats as well.
So, moving forward, zoning hearing board, Mr. Palczewski is up at the end of the year, so there's no action there. Catherine DeAngelis, she's at the end of 2021. We have a vacancy. Mr. Jim Schreiber's term ended in 12/31 of 19. And then there was an oversight, actually. Mr. Valchev never resigned while he was on council, so moving forward, we have to make sure that that doesn't happen again, because he's not allowed to be on code on both. So there was nothing that he heard during that period, is that correct? So it's a administrative issue, but we need to make sure that we're more diligent in the future in that. So, and then we have we have an alternate vacancy open as well. So, if you're interested in the Crafton Zoning Hearing Board, please send in your interest, and council will review, and I would say by April or March, we should have this on the business agenda. Does that sound fair?
Ideally, I would say if we could have, if everyone's interested now, have them submit for our next, whether we go to the next meeting or the meeting after to discuss, but I think this is something that we need to stop pushing the ball down the line. I know Colton's been waiting quite a while. There's other folks that, letter of interest from a year ago, this stuff needs to be taken care of. When we receive the letter versus continuously pushing it down.
Okay.
I think that's something that the office can help with, have that list, make the phone calls a month or two before the appointment, put it on the agenda, advertise it and bring it to us. There's no reason that we have to go through all this all the time. Just, I think that's a function of the manager or his office staff to get this,
We'll set
bring it
them up.
to us.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, moving forward, planning and zoning, Mr. Mark Viola's term ended December of 19, so we, and that's, we're not gonna fill it at all.
If we're gonna go
Okay,
forward.
UCC, okay. All right, so I guess we can scratch that section.
For now, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna scratch that section for now. Park and Shade Tree, we have a vacancy.
I believe there's 4 vacancies.
No, the Park and Shade Tree?
I'm sorry, I was thinking
No.
the recreation, sorry.
So, we have a term ending March 31st, 2020, so basically, I would recommend that we just appoint somebody for the full term. Okay. Rec board, all right, we created new positions this past year here. Board members, we have the chairwoman as Angela Palachowski, her term's up 2022. Elizabeth Palmer, September 2020. Wayne Knock, September 2020. We have terms open, the 2 new terms. They're going to be through December 31st, 2021. So somebody's got, 2 people can have 2 years on the rec board. So we need to have some recommendations, letters of interest. Do we have any? How many do we have? Do we have any?
I believe we had received one at Matthew Megsy.
Yep.
The gentleman with the.
He's the
I'm sorry,
5K
I
coordinator.
butcher
That's
everyone's
okay,
last name.
that's fine, don't worry about it.
And I believe former councilwoman Marsha Damage has expressed interest but hasn't submitted a letter of letter of interest.
Last meeting, Russ said he just needed the names, and I gave him my name, Lori Garland and G. Marie Osborne.
Yeah, I think I have them, I have at least 2 of them, but I was waiting to see what's going to be the procedure, so we'll get that.
All right, so let's put on the business agenda coming up, let's just put those appointments there. And
That we
all-
know of, that we're
Right,
aware of.
and we can,
Right.
because Mr. Megacy really needs I'm gonna move forward that I want council to appoint.
Mr.
So then we're
President,
not on the rec board yet.
So,
We're gonna wait longer.
so are we, so the folks that we do know, some of the folks are actually here now. Are we able to make a motion to vote tonight? And then
Yeah,
for,
anybody can make a motion at any time.
so I motion,
You move.
to appoint,
Matt Megacy?
yeah, Colton, sorry, what's your last name?
Chandler.
Colton Chandler for planning commission.
A second,
A second.
all right, any discussion? Public comment? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can you clarify what the term was?
And the term, going back to here, is April 13th of 2021. Okay? All right,
I'm not for it.
all right.
I move to appoint Marsha Damon to the rec board for the term ending
2021.
December 31st, 2021.
So moved. A second.
Okay, any questions? Public comment?
Do we not have, excuse me, but did you not say that we have a letter of interest from Matt?
There's 4 open
Yeah,
seats.
There's 4 open seats.
So,
That was just the first motion.
Okay,
So we're motioning for someone who's expressed interest, but we do not have a letter of interest yet.
She's in attendance in the meeting. and
And
expressed
Russ said we
interest
didn't
for
need to do that. The
Yeah,
last
at the
meeting.
time last, I
was-
said there was no letters being taken, at this time, she just gave me a letter saying that she was interested. We actually don't have an official letter from, I'm sorry,
Yes,
Matt,
we
yeah, I
do.
did.
He did.
not to the office,
Oh, okay.
sorry.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't really have any official letters from anyone.
okay.
all right. So, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, all that opposed?
Opposed? No.
Okay. All right, the ayes have it.
Got one more for you.
All right,
I move to appoint, sorry, I'm gonna butcher your name,
Matt Megacy.
Matt Megacy to the rec board for term endings at December 31st, 2021.
yes.
Seconded.
Has to be so moved.
Just,
You moved.
you moved, you made the motion. All right, comments? Public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
So
Thank
the
you.
last 2 names aren't gonna go on the rec board then?
I think that we can do them at the next meeting while we either
Yeah,
have
can you
a
have
letter
those
or
come
we
down?
have
Okay,
a letter or them in person.
okay,
That's me.
all right. All right, so,
2020 was okay.
all right, and that's the end of the list here for appointments. So, all right, very much. All right, so 2020 road programs.
I will bow to Public Works Director on this one.
Yeah, after the past couple of years, I think we had some issues and problems in the road program. In particular, 2019, where none of our roads were paved. I worked with the manager and the president to actually request to seek a different option, moving to a different engineering firm, someone I think that would work closer and better with the borough. They had a proposal that came in to the manager's office at a price approximately $35,000 less than the current engineer's quote for services for a road program. The list came with the proposal, the same as we have with the current engineer. Review a list of roads, plans, and specs, the bidding contract for the whole procedure, including bid opening and pre-con meetings, construction inspection, including testing material. I haven't seen a testing material in 5 years since I've been here. Construction inspection, reviewing and going through the full pay process and project documentation to close the paving program. I think this engineering firm will work hand in hand with me in the manager's office to actually make sure that we have a successful road program. And actually coming in $35,000 cheaper.
And that will be starting with 2020, or will they cover some of the 2019 stuff?
With the 19,
It's already-
it's already out the door.
Just wanted to be clear, thank you.
So Rob, what would be the difference between Gateway and this engineering firm? So if we just elect to change engineering firms to the road program?
My,
Just for the road program,
just for the road program.
which is a very small part of what they like that.
Yeah.
What is the company?
KLH.
Sir, it's KLH Engineering. I was just going to give you an update. It's KLH Engineering. They are out of Campbell's Run Road here in, way out here on Campbell's Run Road. Rob spearheaded this for me. I've had a lot of things in the fire for the first 3-4 weeks here. I was impressed with what they proposed. It's complete the project for not to exceed a cost of $15,000. I looked at what we spent for the last 3 years for our road program, and in my opinion, they can't do any less than what was done in 2019.
Sorry.
Sorry. And I don't think we have anything to lose by giving them a shot. That's just my opinion. And I appreciate all the work Rob put into it.
Do we need to vote on this?
I would ask for a motion that.
Yeah, we have a motion, I'll read it.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna motion to authorize the manager to accept the engineering design proposal from KLH Engineering for the 2020 road program.
So moved. Second.
All right, I'm gonna comment here. In our budget discussion meetings, this was brought up. We talked about avenues. Rob's had this on his to-do list for a while to try out another engineering firm with regards to the road program. Gateway Engineer does a very respectable job when it comes to sewer management and focusing on that aspect of the business, but when it comes to the day-to-day operations of the road program, we need somebody that's going to work very closely with the Public Works Director, and this is an opportunity to see how this goes. And it's not, doesn't mean that we're replacing Gateway Engineers as our official borough engineer. It just means we're supplementing as a professional service, and we're able to do this. So Rob will report back to us in the fall how it went. And Mr. President,
I'd like to call the vote.
you guys go ahead and call the vote.
My apologies, but we forgot to
Oh, yeah.
assess the public comment
Yep,
first.
that's right. Anybody in the public would like to comment? Sorry for being carried away there. So,
With a motion in a second.
yep, all in favor?
One other question.
Oh, go ahead.
So in regards to if we decide to move forward with KLH, how would this impact our relationship with Gateway?
It won't impact our relationship with Gateway.
Okay.
Gateway has their projects to oversee. This company has a project to oversee, and it's a sandbox that they have to learn to play in.
Okay.
We're gonna have to take a multi-pronged approach moving forward, and we're gonna have to build a team of professionals, as the manager said, that can work together with others. We're gonna have, over the next 5 to 10 years, multiple contractors probably working at the same time, and it's gonna require a cohesive project management team, and that's what the manager and public works director are seeking to do for us. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you. Social media policy.
The only comment I have on that, and I'm gonna be brief, trust me, is that you all have a model one, I think that, or not a model, this is a put together one.
Yeah.
It was just, I was wondering if any questions, if you reviewed it or anything else, that's all. Not an action item in any way, shape, or form.
Say again?
No, I don't have it.
Oh, okay. Is this something that the council wants to move forward with formally?
Any comments or discussion about the policy should be held in executive session, so I'm okay with,
Can we ask procedural questions?
yeah, but I mean, the nuts and bolts, it's legal advice, I'd rather talk in executive.
Would it be possible to vote on this at the next meeting? The voting meeting?
Well, I think we need to have an executive session to go over the details and iron it out, right?
I would suggest procedurally that the council should review it, and we can have an executive session at next meeting to discuss it, and then changes can be made, incorporated, sent back out until we're comfortable, sort of like we were talking about the lease process. And then we can vote on it. We can try to do it as quickly as possible, but I think voting at the next meeting might be a little too aggressive.
Okay.
I think a vote in March would probably be more reasonable.
Would this be in the form of a resolution, if it comes to an open vote?
We can talk about that. It's
Okay.
possible. It's not necessary, but we can do it that way.
Okay. Slot machine nuisance ordinance.
How involved is the solicitor as to whether that should be done the same way?
No, I mean, I've been asked by other municipalities, this is an ordinance that's being proposed by lobbyists in Harrisburg
Right.
that represent the gaming industry. My view is that it's unnecessary, it's already covered by state law. They're just trying to shift the enforcement onto local municipalities where it doesn't need to be.
Mayor, you have any comment on that?
No, it was, to me, it just seems like, they're gonna be a nuisance to us if they try to vacate zone. We should stay where we're at.
Okay.
Let the state law, the existing state law handle it.
Okay. Thank you. ClearGov software.
I just need some guidance from council on this. We purchased software last year, at mid-year for about $1,700. It came with a stipulation that, or not stipulation, it comes with a bill every year, at least for this year, of $4,700 more. It's called ClearGov. I have no familiarity with the software, and frankly, neither does any of the staff. It was purchased, and a person who was being trained on it, for lack of a better word, is no longer employed by the borough. I did reach out to them and explain the situation. They did give me a demonstration or a demo and invited me to a webinar. I went through the webinar. A few things come to light for me. One, I have absolutely no knowledge of what this product does still. And other than post things up on to another stage that's already being posted by other menus, either via the website or Savvy Citizen or whatever. Two, it's a very limited staff, and I really don't want to put any more work on them at this point in time. And frankly, I don't have the time to learn a new software system that, in my opinion, is a little duplicative of what we're already doing. Three, one of the biggest aspects of this program, well, let me do three a different way. After I had the demo, I asked them to show me or give me customers in Pennsylvania that they have. They have three. None are in the western part of the state. They're a Massachusetts-based company, so I really can't even get on to somebody who I would know the municipality, since I know the area fairly well, and or know the demographics or whatever, and see what's being posted and if it makes any sense. It doesn't exist. And finally, four, a big portion of this program is to put up engineering drawings and bid specs and everything else. We'll be getting those from Gateway, and Gateway is not going to do it for free. It may be the greatest thing since sliced bread, but at $4,700, it's not a program that I see me or my staff utilizing in any manner in the way it should be done at that price. And I would only ask the council to consider
Are we
Cancel this.
under any obligation?
I'm gonna have the solicitor review it and get back to you if you guys are okay with, at least looking into terminating the contract.
So, just a point of clarification in your summation, just so I'm clear. I think you stated that ClearGov would be posting bid specs and expenses to the website, but you're stating that Gateway already is doing that as well?
No, I'm saying the way they're looking for the information, only Gateway can supply, and Gateway's not gonna supply that for free.
So there would be
To clear-
additional cost to get Gateway to do it.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Even though the original request and thinking about this software was to give visibility to the community for the road program and other projects.
Yeah, I'm trying not
Saying is
to,
it's-
right, I'm not saying anything negative per se about the
But
product.
it
I'm
doesn't seem to be a fit.
I don't think, at this point in my young career as your interim manager and having just 2 people on full-time staff working their rear ends off, I just don't feel comfortable implementing something that, it's just
As you
a
said,
little bit of time
there
to
may
use.
be much easier ways to get that information.
I believe there is, yes.
Okay.
But if it's an administrative function, right, because if the solicitor says there's no problems, that administratively, if you're not gonna use it, why are we paying for it? Not
Pretty much where I'm at.
And just to clarify again, though, I mean, we would have ostensibly the specs and things from Gateway that we would.
Oh, we have access to
So we
them
can put them
all.
on the website at any time we choose.
Or, come up and you wanna look at them, we'll show them to you. If you wanna come up and do a right to know, we'll do whatever you have to do. But not too many people come up looking for bid specifications on a specific problem. They may look at the bidders and how they came in, but the actual how much aggregate and how much concrete's being poured into a hole, most people don't ask for, unless they're a contractor. And they get that into bid specs.
Okay.
All right.
So are we pretty
So-
clear to,
Yeah, I got it.
So hopefully you'll have a,
Send it to me and I'll let you know.
Yes, sir.
all right, Franklin Alley water issue.
Again, just an awareness thing, we've had a water issue going down Franklin Alley from the dead end to Bradford. I'll learn these streets real soon. And it's been there forever. We just have a preliminary thing going on now to find out where the water's coming from and how we can abate the situation. Right now, when it freezes, it not only goes down the alley, it goes up over the sidewalk and is creating a major hazard in that alley for people to walk, drive, whatever, and it's flowing out onto Bradford Avenue because we really don't have a storm sewer that can handle it.
all right, so at this point, we don't know where.
We're trying to identify the source and maybe a preliminary solution before we come back to you.
Yeah, just a point of order too, it's coming off of private property. That property owner has been notified through code enforcement to keep the water from being discharged into the right of way. There's a conflict between the property owners, the one saying the upper property's coming off his, from his one property to the other, and then it's being discharged into the alley. So I know he's been notified that he has to remedy the situation. Unfortunately, there's no sewer lines back there. He's talked to me about putting a sump in and trying to control it, but he has concerns with the sump failing. It's an extensive project because there is no sewer lines there. There's an 8-inch line at the first part of Bradford, but a 27-inch combination line would have to be the one used because you can't put stormwater into an 8-inch combination line.
So basically, you'll come back to us and let us know if it's a private citizen issue or.
And when I reviewed it with the manager, he had some serious concerns about the liability because the icing issue is protruded onto the public right of way.
Public right of way.
So my question would be, so let's say if this is a private property issue and it comes down to factor of cost, that would be a barrier of remedying the issue. Would we be able to explore what programs are out there or what we could do as a borough to help not only this resident but other residents should this issue arise? We do have a lot of older homes in the community, so this might be a way to kind of gateway into possibly providing a solution ahead of other problems.
So, here's an important document for you to read. All right, Act 167 is out there, all right, on stormwater management, and then we have our ordinances, all right? When it comes to your leader lines and making sure that they're connected and you controlling your water that comes off your property, and ensuring that it goes to the proper place. And because we are a combined community, typically that means if it's coming off a roof, it needs to actually go into our sewer system. That's the current configuration that we're working under. And that will continue, because the reality is we're not gonna retrofit the entire community to have a full separate MS4 compliance system, which would be completely separate systems for stormwater, which would require hundreds of thousands of dollars per neighborhood to achieve. So with that being said, it's probably, in my professional opinion, more prudent for us to put out the fires where we can with little pieces of infrastructure and manage that runoff, because some of these issues you're talking about, they're significant and interconnected runoff issues, and our community wasn't designed to really address.
We need to find where the water, we need to find where the water's coming, and then we'll go
Need
from
more
there.
information.
We'll have that point for next
meeting. What?
And then if possible, while you're looking into information, possibly look at, there might be grants and stuff like that.
Right.
So
All
that
kinds
way,
of
when we
possibilities.
approach the resident, we can say, hey, this issue is your responsibility, however, here's
Yeah,
what can help you.
we have the problem, we'll try to find a solution.
We'll come back with the prices.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, West Crafton Avenue parking at St. Philip's.
So if I may, Mr. President, so I know in the past, I approached council, I actually approached the borough on this matter, and one thing that was lacking in this whole process was a conversation with all the stakeholders. So I'm asking if, Mr. President, Mr. Manager, if we're able to have a meeting with all stakeholders involved in this parking along what's also commonly referred to as Churchill. If we can all sit down and come to a middle ground to see how to proceed versus, hey, this is an issue and this is an ordinance. So I would like to have a conversation, if that's something that we could explore, that'd be great.
I think we've already talked about that, haven't we? Wasn't that voted down?
No, this is a new council,
Last year?
so this is a new
But
discussion.
but the way
Excuse
that,
me?
This is a new council, this is a new discussion.
Oh,
They
so
have-
we're just gonna bring it up again?
Yeah, that's how
correct,
this all
because I
works.
felt as a resident, this issue was not, all stakeholders were not brought in, the church, in fact, council went to vote on an ordinance, the church was never notified, which was not correct. I want to make sure that all stakeholders have a say, because at the end of the day, we
We
can't,
voted on this already,
we
you're just
can't take a living room view.
wasting time.
We can't take a living, Mr. Amendola, please let me speak. I'm being respectful to you, please be respectful to me. We need to take not a living room view, but we need to take a view of council as a whole. We need to take a look at the borough from every eyes of every resident, not just our own living room view. So that's why I'm asking if we can have a meeting to discuss possible options.
Thank you.
Waste of time.
Can I just ask a
Yeah,
respectful
yeah.
question? So I understand what you're asking. Are we talking specifically about parking, like the Sunday parking that's been, or are we talking about reopening the idea of turning that into a parking or no parking zone? I'm
I
trying
would-
to get some
I would-
clarification.
I would like to have a conversation with all the stakeholders to
And
discuss what the issues are that we're seeing and what possible solutions are, what other folks can bring to the table, because I
And
felt
when you
last
say
time it
all,
was, so
Stakeholders who.
so stakeholders would be residents in the area that are affected, other residents that drive through that area, business owners, St. Philip's Church, businesses that surround, so that way we can discuss options. Because I want to make sure at the end of the day, everybody has a voice.
So, if I hear you, you'd like to have a hearing to discuss, public hearing to discuss this. I think it should, I'm gonna make my recommendation, I think it should be a hearing, it should be advertised, and letters should be sent to the people in that vicinity specifically, because I think that's what you're talking about, correct me if I'm wrong. And we'll have a hearing, and bring out, the management of the church, and they'll advertise it to, I suppose they're congregants or people that, parishioners.
Residents of the borough.
Mhm.
Parishioners who may not be residents in the borough.
Right, so how does that work if the parishioners are not residents of the borough?
If you're inviting them to speak, that's great.
Okay, so I think we should have a formal hearing. Do I hear any support for that idea?
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
A hearing?
or a public, I think.
That's what he's asking for, right?
Yeah, so basically like a
Public.
forum like this where everybody can
Forum.
bring ideas to the table to discuss different things. So we're looking at it from all perspectives, not just one.
Just have a separate meeting.
Yeah, we can have advertise a separate meeting to discuss.
We had meetings. St. Philip's was here at several different times, and the people that were concerned about it were here several different times. Church members were here.
I was not aware.
They
of these
sat in the
meetings.
front.
In fact, the ordinances were voted on.
Well,
They were not
you're
on
all
the
new
agenda.
council now. You want to,
They were
you
not,
wanna
they were
change
not on the
everything.
agenda.
Fred,
They have every-
Mr. Amendola.
oh, didn't I have the floor here? Didn't I have the floor before you interrupted me?
Okay,
Do I have the
I
floor now?
apologize, Mr.
Who's got the
President.
floor?
can you ask me for the floor?
Who's got the floor?
All right, I have the
All of
floor
those
right now.
people you're talking about were here. We talked, we had this discussion, we voted it down.
All comments to
Now-
the
Yeah,
chair.
Why are you interrupting me? Why is he interrupting me? Get that gavel out,
So-
man. You gavel me all the time.
So. can
I'm
we just-
answering his question.
Right, so, Mr. Amendola, I hear your
St.
perspective.
Philip's was here,
That's correct.
all the concerned people were here. It
Correct.
was voted down. It was voted down. Now you got new members of council, you got some new puppies in here, and you're ready to
No,
upset the cart again.
Mr. Amendola, these members of council have a right to have a discussion at the discussion meeting to discuss this. If it gets legs, as in, if this
It's a
has
waste
any
of
traction, you all can vote up or down on whether or not you're gonna have more discussion or have a meeting to discuss this issue further. At which time, if we take, there's a motion to address, yes,
I suggest we move on, the points have been made.
all right, thank you. We'll move on.
So there's gonna be a meeting, a separate date.
Well,
If
I think we should
members
have,
of council don't want to attend, they don't attend. If residents want to attend, they can. You'll take those views, come up with some ideas, and then put it back out there.
correct,
Wonderful.
we
Let's move
should
on.
have a motion to advertise for a place and time to discuss this subject. So if you all would like to move in that direction, somebody should make a motion, or we can wait till the next meeting.
We can wait till the next meeting for
I
some discussion.
concur, let's instruct the manager to put together a date and time so that we can vote to publish that date and time at the next meeting.
There are no conflicts.
Waste of time.
Yeah, we can go for
Waste of money
Okay.
too.
All right, that's the right number, here we go. Okay?
Sure. What am I doing?
You're going to put together some time.
Dates and times that
and
may be
you're going to
available
put
for
a
everyone.
motion on the agenda at the next meeting
Got it. Got it.
to advertise for a meeting on such date to discuss the parking issues
Understood.
surrounding West Crafton Avenue, etc.
Very good.
All right,
If it passes, there'll be a meeting. If it doesn't pass, there won't be a meeting. Let's move on.
all right, thank you. Non-discrimination ordinance. Mr. Stop.
I just want to see where we stand with that. I know this is something that Mr. Sinders had brought up last year, so I just wanted to see what the progress.
Procedurally, I sent a draft to Phil and to Ed, and so
Chair
I
of the manager.
believe Senator.
He was-
The manager has concerns. So the question is that something that we can?
I mean, I understand what he's talking about, but we could talk about what Mount Lebanon is doing, is just like Ross is doing, is we're trying to negotiate a work share agreement with the state agency, and that's where it is. So both entities aren't taking complaints at the moment. But I think we should handle it the same way as the social media policy is. If you guys are comfortable with what I put together, distribute it to all council, and then we can sit back there and we can get legal advice and talk about how you want to move forward. Again, it's 98% identical to the Mount Lebanon lawsuit.
Thank you.
I think that was something that we voted on last year unanimously to move forward, right?
Yes.
We actually didn't vote. At the last meeting that I chaired, Mr. Cindric came up, and I remember specifically turning to our solicitor saying, I'm sure our new council will want to fast track this, and so he has moved forward, but there's been no vote.
No way. Right, so we have a draft, we can, it's been
Have
shared
an
with,
executive session with the
Social media.
social media
Right,
policy.
at the next meeting.
Yep.
yes,
And we'll maybe vote on it in March,
right,
if we need
okay,
The ordinance you would.
policy.
okay. All right, are there any other discussion items for council this time? Hearing none, I'm gonna move forward to community announcements. Jordan Tax Service will be in the community room on Friday, February 28th, 2020, from 9 to noon to collect the trash fee. Last day for 2% discount. Don't be like me, I missed my bill last year. A lot of things going on when you're having kids and all that, but don't forget that. They just want to collect it. What came out of our budget meetings was that, we all pay for non-payments, and it's reflected in our rates that we set. So let's do our fair share and make sure we pay our fair share, and if everybody pays, the overall bill should be lower. So, thank you. Borough offices will be closed Monday, February 17th in observance of the President's Day, and additional citizen comments. Here, Mr. Bloom, David Bloom, thank you.
You know what, I politely decline to comment right now, but I do want to congratulate Mr. Crown on being selected. I think you did well.
Thank you. All right.
This gentleman here.
Yes, sir.
I got a quick comment. I wasn't gonna give a comment until I came here.
Yeah.
And then,
Please come up.
anyway, you
You
were
just have
talking,
to provide your name and address, that's it, for the record.
Greg Wozniak, 1773 Bar Avenue.
Thank you.
So, anyway, I wasn't gonna make any comments when I came to the meeting, but then you start talking about the collar and the ball field, Alcosan, and has anybody been thinking about doing some sort of an alternative to the sale of the property for the ball field? I mean, has council been looking at some other plan, like for a plan for the borough to buy the property or to, where it's lying? I mean, you talked about Cower, turn it into a Cower Sports Center, some, try to get, solicit funds from that end through him. Talked about Alcosan, it's in a low-laying area. Is there a chance for it to be a wet detention pond or a wet area? I mean, there's a lot of different things that we can explore maybe to try to take that land and avoid the whole get-go process, because I think it's just gonna sneak up on us again. And then you're gonna have the same issues we had last month or the month before. So is there any kind of task force from the
It's a great
from you
idea,
guys?
and that is something that I believe, when I was chatting with the manager on this topic, he recommends that there be a joint task force composed of school board members and council members to explore those options. The reality is, as you learned at that hearing, the school district owns the property. We do own the front part, very valuable commercial frontage on Steubenville there. However, there's a clause in our deed that says it has to be used for borough municipal purposes, and if we cease the use of that, then it would revert back to the school district. And so I think this council will be exploring options to work with the school district to explore, these ideas. And I will tell you, the option for stormwater management features down there is a core thing that has to happen. However, that field, if the field gets developed, if it's with a partnership with a developer or with Alcosan, something is going to have to happen there, because we do have isolated flooding events. So that's I'm glad that you brought that up, so thank you.
Yeah, I don't mean stormwater just from the development, I mean, you taking the
Yeah,
stormwater we
yeah.
now have and putting
Yeah.
some type of, wet.
Yeah, that
wet
was proposed, that was put on the table 20 months ago, and the school district didn't want to pursue that at that time because of the, some of the financial difficulties they're having. They're looking for, they need resources, financial resources to help the district. So that's been the motivator on the school's end. And the Borough of Crafton didn't seek this opportunity. It was sought by the school board and brought to us, and there was very limited things that we could do to sort of direct the process because they own the lion's share of the property.
Yeah, I would ask the chair to remind the public at large, including you, sir, that a lot of the overarching issues that the community is gonna have, if this comes back again, need to be addressed with the school district as well. Because as Phil's gonna say, and I just wanted to add to it, the school district owns the majority of the field, full stop. They can sell the majority of the field without this body taking any action, full stop. It'll go through zoning, it'll go through public hearings, if that would occur, without the front part, full stop. And it could get vetoed at any point in time by the public at large. But the idea that we have full control over the process is a fallacy. So for concerned citizens, they need to go to the school board on Tuesday nights, let them know what they think about this, and let them know that they want the discussion to be in the open.
So I guess what my alternative or another thinking outside the box is we take possession of all the land.
We
So-
can't. We can't.
Well, it was a $3 million offer, right? We were gonna get a third, they were gonna get 2/3. It would be a $2 million, we'd buy them out for $2 million. This is just really pie in the sky stuff. So, how do you come up with that $2 million?
Yeah, it's-
You work with Alcosan, you work with funding, things like that. I'm saying to think outside of the box than to just, think one way that, we gotta do something jointly with the school. The school's worried about money, that's what they're worried
So-
about, and we're worried
At our
about property.
community meeting,
But-
a number of people brought alternative ideas, and as you said, we're going to be moving towards some type of joint meeting, so.
So you're gonna, okay,
Yes,
so I
this
guess my
has to
question
be
was whether or not a
considered
task
other
force was
people.
being put together and everybody was looking at something
There-
alternative
Right.
instead of
There-
just sneaking up on us again.
Yeah,
Right.
and there really were a number of creative ideas that were thrown out at the public hearing. And
Yep.
I think they'll all end up getting explored.
Mr. Amendola?
I'm glad you brought this up because I've been wanting to have a discussion on that. Maybe we should really have a discussion about purchasing the property ourselves from the school board. It's my understanding the school board raised taxes in order to recover the money they need for whatever they're doing with it. And so we wouldn't have to offer them $2 million, maybe we offer them $1 million. And they've got their tax money coming in and they're gonna be happy and would be happy. We buy the property, then we decide what's gonna go on it. If it's gonna be something for children, which is what it is meant to be for, or build a complex or sell it. But we should have some discussions about perhaps offering the school board $1 million and saying, here, see you later.
So it sounds like, as you heard, the manager's idea has traction, and we're going to be discussing this further. Probably, this part of the conversation will probably happen in the executive session because it is a real estate matter. But once we come up with our strategy, we'll move forward with that. And it sounds as if there's interest from this council for people to be on that task force to work, cooperatively with the school district to come up with a plan that's amenable to both parties.
And we'll just.
So
I guess what I'm saying also, you're
I
talking about
just
the
got-
Alcosan, it's low line, you might be able to build something with Alcosan to say, okay, you know,
So-
you can use this land to get out of your predicament by working with for Altistan to help get out of their predicament.
So
And-
moving forward, and I think we can take the conversation offline, you know, we have to
Sure.
try to manage, you know, with rules, and we're trying to keep some semblance of order there, but I appreciate the comment. I don't want you to feel as if we're eschewing you, it's just we have to, public comment is meant to be a back and forth, question and answer, back and forth with one resident.
Right.
But
Cool.
I think we can take the conversation offline, and we'll give you an update as we proceed.
All right,
Okay?
thanks.
Thank you. All right.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is that all the public comments?
I believe so.
On the list.
Second? All right, adjourn the meeting. Thank you.